We are with attorney Nicolas Aguado. You're an immigration attorney here in South Florida, and this afternoon we kind of want to talk about the Trump administration's latest efforts to tackle what they consider to be an ongoing issue with immigration in this country. Can you talk to me about the public charge rule?
So basically, the public charge rule applies, and it'll come into effect when you're either requesting a visa to visit the U.S., so they could use that, or when you're adjusting status, meaning that when you're trying to become a U.S. resident on base. So, and what it is basically if the government takes into account if you're likely to become a public charge, that not depending on your resources and financial situation, and then they could deny you immigration benefits such as a visa or becoming a resident based on solely the fact that they believe that you're going to become a public charge.
In other words, it's almost like a merit-based system.
Well, kind of. That's what they're trying to do, because they're trying to make it broader in the sense that it takes into account education, skills, etc., etc. So it's not just money. But even that today, so you have a petitioner, your petitioner that files for you for in this case, if you want to adjust status, become a resident, they have to sign an affidavit of support, meaning that they become financially responsible for you once you become a resident, and that lasts for 10 years or until you become a citizen. So, it's basically really attacking poor people, the financial situation that, if you ever did get on assistance, cash assistance or any type of Medicaid, Medicare, something like that, they could deny you the adjustment based on that.
In terms of where the debate is on this specific issue, I think one of the interesting facets to this story is that this is really an effort to try to tackle legal migration. So These are folks that are already in the U.S. who are either about to start the process or they might be in the process. Yeah. So how different is this move versus the asylum changes or the other stuff that's come before it?
So basically, it's trying to cut migration everywhere, right? So this is an attack on legal. We say attack, but it's an effort to limit legal migration. And then the difference with asylum and what we've been watching of the new dispositions and the rules from the government is that they're similar in the fact that they're both deterrents. But asylum, the government's really trying to crack down on whoever can apply. For example, they're proposing 3 changes to asylum law, which is they want the cases that can now take years to be done in 180 days maximum. And then right now, you could apply for asylum, you don't have to pay for that petition, the asylum petition. Right. The government now wants to charge for that. And they also want to charge for the work permit that you're allowed to request 150 days after you file your asylum application. You're allowed to request a work permit, and when it's based on asylum, currently you don't have to pay a fee, and the government wants to change that as well.
In terms of, so I think it seems like with respect to the public charge rule, I mean, this is looking at a broad set of, it's a criteria that's I think broad enough for a lot of folks. For example, if someone is taking food stamps, if they're on Medicare, if they're in government housing, it's going to be weighed against their application.
Exactly.
All of those 3 things don't seem to be uncommon for someone who is in this country and is either trying to get a better life, trying to get a better shot at an opportunity. It doesn't seem that uncommon to me that someone in the process right now would have any one of those criteria.
Well, first, the other thing is if you're illegal, you don't get much benefit. So most of them is based on the benefits that they're receiving for their children, right? That are in most cases, that's the case. So the mothers is somehow trying to legalize now, but she's already got children. The children are U.S. citizens. They have benefits. So it comes into play at that point.
With respect to the broader effort by the administration, are you surprised that they're that they want to go down this avenue?
Yeah, I mean, not really. We've been looking at this. They're going to try to do whatever they can to limit and go more on the merit base that the president likes. So they're going to try to move any way they can towards that end of the spectrum.
In terms of what you're seeing here at this office, what's the sentiment like amongst the immigrant community?
There's a lot of fear. They've really changed the way that we interact. The courts are very difficult now. ICE officers are very difficult. There's a huge change in the way that immigration officials carry themselves now. It's not very polite. It's not very nice, and people are scared.
Back to the broader effort, I mean, we're seeing greater number of deportations. You're changing the procedures to asylum laws. It seems like this is a concerted, and I think the administration would say is a concerted effort to try to really go at the heart of what they consider to be the immigration policy. What is it that they're not hitting or that they're missing in all of this?
Well, they're not hitting the human aspect of this. It's families, it's children, it's, I know families, many families I know, they have an undocumented relative, or they know someone undocumented. So I understand that illegal immigration is not proper. I'm not about that. I'm not in favor of that. But you do have to carry the situation, which is a legal situation, you have to carry it with some type of justice. So I think they're missing the justice part of it.
And I think a big part of that story is what we just saw last week between the shooting in El Paso, and then they had the immigration raids just a few days after. And a lot of people said, these folks are living on the edge a bit, and then this happens. And I think the administration, to a certain extent, admitted that it maybe could have handled that part a little bit better.
Yeah, and then just in general, I find that there's good people everywhere. I don't want to say about the people, but just the way the government is, the policies that are in place, it's very unfair. So justice isn't fair all the time. I understand that, but I've seen very unfair. So I understand, if you have a criminal background, if you have issues, yes, you should be removed. But we have many, many parents that are here working, no criminal record. They have been here for many years, and, they're being deported.
One of the parts to the changes that the administration announced today is they're even weighing applications on if you're likely to become dependent on government services. That seems a bit extreme, I think, on either side of the debate. Right now they're looking at whether you might be able to afford medical treatment, whether you might be able to afford going to school. In other words, if they don't believe that you're qualified to do that on your own, then they might weigh that against you in deciding whether you can become a permanent resident or a citizen.
Exactly. Or, a permanent resident. Or also if you get a visa, tourist visa, or some type of work visa, or any type of visa to come. So, they're going to weigh, they definitely weigh it against you. It's just broader discretion. But immigration is based on high discretion anyway. So it's just making, the whole thing difficult. But it's a struggle we do every day.
What's it like for you here at this office? I mean, are you? I know you talked about the tone that some of your clients probably have, but is there any hope to that tone?
Yeah, people, it's on the other side of the spectrum is there's also people that could have fixed their situation a long time ago, and now they're fixing their situation. So it's a high incentive for people to search for an attorney and somebody that knows immigration law, as opposed to before that they were just either doing them themselves or going to some notary public. But the whole thing is it's a bit overwhelming sometimes because you deal with family and many. There's
an emotional aspect to the story.
It's very draining. It's very draining, and then it's an uphill battle every day. We go to court, and you're gonna get slammed. The judge has to decide two cases. The judge isn't really a judge. He's an employee for the government. They work for the attorney general. So, they got their hands tied. They can't postpone. They can't continue. They can't. There's many things that before you were able to do in court, like terminate or administratively close cases to allow your client to, either get a waiver or whatever they need to do so they can adjust. And now we can't. We're not seeing that.
What do the next 6 to 12 months look like, either for your work or for someone who's in the process of trying to figure out their status?
Busy, but yeah. Well, I don't see any major changes coming because there won't be, I think, anything passed by Congress, any new laws or anything. So we're going to see on regulations, and I could just see it getting tighter. It's getting tighter and tighter every day.
For folks who feel that they can help, that feel that maybe they can add a voice to this debate, what's your advice to them?
Do whatever you can. We're all in this together. Families, friends, we all know someone. So information is the best.
In terms of what you guys do here at the firm, what do you think is one or two things that you're able to either see that maybe other folks are not, in terms of either the legal avenues forward or some of the roadblocks that are in the way?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of discretion, and there are also many ways to reopen cases and many ways to fight against a removal. So that's the most important part. People really don't understand that they do have rights. Some of them, if you didn't go to court because you weren't notified, then you can reopen your case even if you have a deportation order. So it's fair. What I see more than maybe the average person doesn't see is giving people a chance to legalize. We've been able to legalize many people that thought that they had a deportation order, they thought it was the end of it, and it's not.
How much of that? So before you get to that point, because I think that's also very interesting. I think there's a great amount of fear, right? And that fear prevents you from even getting to the issue and then trying to tackle that issue. How difficult is it to get someone to come out of whatever, they say they're in the shadows? How do you get them to come out and say, listen, we can take care of this, but you've got to come out and at least try to get a remedy? Yeah,
it's really hard to do that. Normally when I come across these cases, it's because they were either pulled over or something happened, or they were detained, or they had no other option, and they were pulled out of the shadow. But I don't see many clients coming out on their own.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Nicolas Aguado, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. For folks that might want to get either in contact with you or might be seeking some information for folks that they know, where can they give you a call or an email?
Yeah, well, they can call our office here, 305-444-8886, and we're on social media and everywhere as Aguado Immigration Firm.
Nicolas, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.